I mentioned this, but the things running out of control, and also where at this particular stage is when things become so apparently beyond all rational concepts, beyond an typical moral principles, values, whatever you like to call it. And people don't even seem to be the least aware about this. You get in contact with more and more actors that become involved. One reason is that naturally yourself, you're doing really anything you possibly can to find solutions to sort things out. And besides, there are all those actors who become drawn into this. And I also mentioned that at this stage there's no privacy whatsoever, because no matter how what kind of policy they might have, and it's rather similar from one to the other, they all have these ideas that we can't reply in emails because that would be a threat against your privacy, regardless of what reasons I might have for writing, regardless of facts that someone might have a gun against my head and be recording a phone call to. Either way, what I was describing is that when they start interacting, then this whole structure just fades, crumbles, because one, there are specific actors where you're not their client in any way, and therefore they have no specific obligations towards you. And there are private citizens, things that some private citizen has told you, either as in your work as a professional, or in your own private life. Might be that those official professionals actually have an everyday life outside work and might even have friends. I'm joking. But through these kind of channels, it starts threads are woven, and really this is when it becomes appearing as a big fucking web. And like I mentioned, that there are those call them mobile actors. That's by definition more or less by the way they are supposed to function. They become a connection between other actors, like almost like a neurotransmitter. And this is like the cops, the police authorities, and it's also to some degree mental health care, because those are specific actors that everyone call them at this stage and tell them their respective stories. So they will have more or less the full complete wrong story. This is where it like the whole where it becomes a unit, a mythology, not just a collection of myths. And they try to make it appear logic and explain, find an explanation that will collect all these tales into one more or less consequent idea. It's a story, and then there are those more subtle things there, because when you're speaking to someone who are actually bound to keep silent, you will still see those signs of confirmation or some skeptical eyebrow or whatever, and these subtle things are even more dangerous than an absurd story, because as long as it's not actually been spoken out loudly, no one has actually said this. It's just that everyone knows everything, while no one actually knows anything. This is a central paradox. So, and this also is so delicate, because no one can ever really be accused with lying or making rumors. But I didn't say anything, did I? It's just this gestures and those subtle signals, and then you pass it over to the next one. Let who use her own imagination to complete what you actually did not say. And another strange thing at this stage is that you find yourself becoming the messenger, actually spidering the web in a way that you never actually were, because otherwise from the start this is also one of these central things. As soon as you had this label of conspiracy, theoretical, whatever, then it becomes like a mission to, well, you need to see your own part in this. It's very clear that from your perspective things are very much completely beyond control already at an early stage, and that's in fact the only reason why you need to engage all those actors. But at this stage, at least, even if you still don't have any actual control and any possibility to change the direction or slow things down, you become the meddler, like a spider in this giant web, connecting all those actors and keeping them up to date with each other, because they can't really speak freely, can they? So after having spoken to the first one, you go over to the next and you try to explain the situation, and here comes one really absurd detail into all this, because in all situations like this one, it's very much defined by those rumors and slandering and myths, and perhaps you try to explain exactly this when you're speaking to one of these actors. Myths, you said. What do you mean by myths? Just in general, people speaking. What kind of things? And this really is, in this situation, very much irrelevant, because these things change very fast. So what you tell this person today might not at all be true tomorrow, because it's mutated into something completely different than the first version of this. Therefore, you actually avoid getting becoming that concrete when speaking about this kind of very mobile and fluctuating matters. It's like fucking clouds of smoke describing the horse-like figures in some cumulus cloud. This is very much similar. Nevertheless, they always get you into handing them some concrete examples. As soon as you start, you realize, fuck, why am I'm too old for this shit. And you start referring the whole damned thing. And then I make a note about this. And next time you speak to this actual actor, then you will be confronted with this myth that you yourself has handed them as an example of this absurd mythology, and it might be like, because this is actual concrete example, so you might quote me on this one. It's become common knowledge, common known truth that I am very much potentially dangerous and probably physically violent, and I have a very unstable mood, so, and that kind of things. And I'm not really sure when this specific one was set into motion, when this dandelion was blown. Either way, now this is something that everyone knows. And the weird thing is that I have been actively responsible for spreading this involuntarily, obviously, but you know, when they ask you, can you mention one specific thing, when you mention that kind of thing, like now suddenly everyone knows that I'm physically violent, and it's dangerous getting involved with me. The next time you meet this actor, it appears that in their notes they read as, yeah, those things that has happened to you, not really strange, because I mean, in our journal I can read that you actually are physically violent and have some really nasty mood swings, and you said yourself that you're dangerous to other humans. Hold it. No, I did not say. Well, that's what it says here. Client tells me that, and so on. And besides, we read that you have some paranoid, psychotic problems, cyclic or whatever. I'm trying to explain that they wanted an actual concrete example of what kind of stories are circling around me, and this is one specific. Okay, so will you please make a note about this? That's not necessary. Well, the fact it is, because by now it's become very clear that those things becomes woven into this mythological net, and then there are those specific actors that more or less turns this into a put all these pieces together. So please, would you make a note about this? Oh, no, that's okay. That's not necessary. And I can't change what others have written. But will you please tell her? No, we don't. That's not how things are organized. And everything becomes very difficult. But that's a great example of how those specific myths becomes animated, and also as I mentioned, those things are never really spoken out, but all the time you get confronted with those things, and they always expect you to know perfectly well what they're talking about. What they are talking about, actually not talking about anything. They're making strange faces and writing strange cryptical notes, but no one is actually saying anything, and it's that the person in this situation can't really accept someone speaking against their beliefs. In this case, I have very, very few actual beliefs. Some things appear to be like this or that, and the bother that I don't seem to be able to understand any other perspective. So far, no one has actually even tried make an attempt to explain to me what's so completely mad about this idea that I have. And I haven't really made any statements either. I've only said that this thing has obviously happened. The only possible explanation that I found for this would be that whatever stuff has happened, and I get no reply. No one has so far told me that this can't have happened. No one has told me that what really have happened that I should understand. It's just a statement that seems impossible to make him come to insight about the situation. So it's a bit hopeless almost.